And Blankenship beat him to the Pro Bowl, didn't he? And he missed a couple of vital kicks at the weekend. So I guess we'll wait for next year to Sanders to come up clutch instead when he makes that next year. Go on, then I'll move on to the bit that's going to be the controversial bit, just because I've been waiting for it. It's all good. So. Obviously emerged on kind of Twitter. I mean, I don't know how much of this is kind of face value and that sort of stuff. I think it's kind of maybe DeShaun Watson's made a throwaway comment that he'd be happy to go to Miami and everyone's overblown it. But got to talk about it, haven't we, guys? Can't really avoid it. It's a big a point of debate amongst Dolphins fans at the moment. Would we trade DeShaun Watson for Tua, plus some kind of compensation as well? Take on that contract from Watson, but obviously get one of the best quarterbacks in the game in return. I'll come back to me in a minute, because I think I'm going to wind some people up with my kind of opinion on this. But Lee, I'm going to throw it your way first, and then maybe Jason coming off the back of you. Tell me what your opinion is, and is there any kind of situation where you would do this trade?
So, I completely understand why people are getting super excited about it. Quarterbacks don't come available, but I'd also preface that by saying he's not available. Him saying him saying he's willing to waive his no trade clause to join the Dolphins. I'm sure we could ask a lot of players in the NFL that right now and we'd get the same answer. This is a team on an upward trajectory. Do you know what I mean? I've got a whole bunch of feelings about this. I mean, I don't think it's as much about Watson as it is about Tua for me. I'm happy. I'm willing to ride that train, use the picks and build that team. And I think your best window to win is with quarterbacks on rookie deals. The few problems I have with the reports that are out right now is, like I say, DeShaun Watson saying he wants out doesn't mean the Texans are willing to deal him. Doesn't mean it's going to be cheap or easy, because if you think that starting price is anything less than what we got for Laremy Tunsil, I think you're absolutely crazy. Because, yes, he's disgruntled. Yes, that means he's got some leverage. But at the same time, he's still a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback. You don't just give that up for nothing, whether he's upset or not. I think there's plenty of ways for the Texans to fix it before it gets to that stage. I think that it's such a deep pool of ifs and buts. But I mean, for me, I'm happy to stay. This has been a 2-year plan for Miami, even before Tua was on the team, to get Tua, to put him in this situation, to build this draft capital for exactly this situation, and everything has panned out exactly the way we planned it. I don't understand why you take a deviation now because somebody became available. We could make the same argument that a wide receiver becomes available or a corner becomes available. Or, you can run for any position. Also, from a kind of fit point of view, if DeShaun Watson's unhappy where he is, and he was unhappy with the way Bill O'Brien ran the team, and he's unhappy that they've brought in another New England guy, I'm not sure Miami is necessarily the greatest destination for you. If you're going to be unhappy because you're not consulted, I don't know if this is the right front office and head coach for you, because they've kind of got that similar way about them. And on that note, it's okay. DeShaun saying I'm willing to waive my no trade clause to go to Miami. If you're that desperate to get out of Houston, you'd waive it to go anywhere because you want to get out of Houston. So it's all right saying I want to go, but I don't want to go somewhere better. Well, hey, we all want to go somewhere better. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I mean, I say I don't want to. I could go on for hours, but
too much logic, mate. Too much logic you've got there. Jason, what's the feeling that side of the pond, mate?
A lot of split, and that's really just how it is, in this Dolphin Nation, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm gonna do like a little bit of a hedge of my bet here, my answer, because like Lee said, who made so many great points, there's a lot of pluses, minuses, ins and outs that have to happen over the next 3 weeks, 3 months that will lead us to that. Am I on a side of the fence? I'm on the pro sticking to the plan side with Tua and the draft picks. And Lee, you hit the nail on the head with the organization. This organization is not going to bring in a player and then consult with the player. What do you think we're going to do? That's the last thing that's going to happen. Is DeShaun Watson an elite quarterback? Absolutely. No argument there. But the Dolphins are really kind of in year 2.5 of their plan. They were in year 2, but won 10 games. So you got to give them a little bit of more credit than they deserve there. And now you have a 3rd pick, an 18th pick, a 35 pick, a 50 pick. You're not giving those all up for one quarterback who Lee referenced. It could be disgruntled if it doesn't work out. You got to win 13 games. You got to win a Super Bowl, or else in 2 years, you're in salary cap crisis. Or if you win a Super Bowl and you don't win 2 more, might be a failure with a $156 million quarterback. Give me 10 years of constant success for right now, and that's what I think the Dolphins are building with Tua.
Nice, yeah. I mean, where I'm coming from, I think it's the kind of proven talent versus the hypothetical talent for me, which I know a lot of people are saying it, but the kind of excitement of that player becoming available, and Lee rightly pointed out to me several times the other day, had a fantastic season, but they still only won 4 games, so. That's obviously the sticking point here. But I think if you get that elite player, you don't necessarily have to take on the full contract. I think I read somewhere that you're only taking on about. You can come in a minute, Lee.
No, it's fine.
No, go on. I was going to say you only take on 10 mil of the contract next year, and then obviously you take the full whack of it the years after and stuff like that. What's to stop the restructure in the meantime? And also. I get what people are saying. Draft capital would rather be spent on a young, promising talent, and where's the cap space going to be? But you can definitely find a way to bring in someone like Will Fuller, even if you bring in Watson, and thus, for me, that's not really too much of an issue. My issue mainly is that like the kind of team building philosophy here is the kind of thing that really like gets a frog in my throat and doesn't make me want to go ahead and do this sort of deal, because Tua's my guy. I really like Tua. I love him to bits. I know I've just contradicted that, but I think just the kind of that we know what Watson is. He's fantastic, and he could really elevate this offense, which kind of spluttered and stalled this year. And I think I truly believe, obviously, Tua, rookie, learning the game, coming off that, he's going to improve no end, but we still don't know whether he's going to get to that Watson level. So if you've got the opportunity, and I don't want to play the world, but if you've got the opportunity to flip this year's first round picks to and a bit more compensation, then it just seems something that's like worth considering at the very least. Go on, Si, I'll come your way.
I think when I heard about this rumor, my first instinct was as a fan, to think, God, this tour journey that we've been on for the best part of 2 years, and we feel like we've been through so much together, that we finally got the player that we've been after all this time, and all of a sudden there are rumors that he's going to be traded. I found it difficult to get my head around that as a fan, and I'm like you guys, I want to see it through to the end with Tua. Down 10, 12 years down the line, 15 years, whatever it may be. So I'm very much pro continuing on that curve of the rebuild. I don't want to see the rebuild blown up after year 2.5, as Jason put it, because ultimately we'd have to lose all of that capital that we've got in the draft to get DeShaun Watson, and effectively that would almost end the rebuild. Absolutely. On the other side, I don't agree with the fact that losing that compensation is a massive deal from an offensive point of view, because we've seen exactly what DeShaun Watson can do in Houston without any true elite weapons. So I don't buy the argument that by trading away all of the 2 first-round picks will have a negative impact on the offense, because, as I said, because Watson has proved he can do it. But it's the overall team rebuild that it would impact, and that's what I've got a particular issue with. So my thoughts are very much that we stay the course and we see it through with Tua right to the end of his career.
From a Texans point of view, my kind of thought on their side is if that for me they're one of the weaker head coach positions to be looking at the moment. Obviously, you've got not a lot of draft capital, pretty depleted offensive roster other than Watson. I mean, if they can, if they believe in Tua, and they did their draft research on him, and they can pick up draft capital on that side. So maybe somebody's kind of pitching for that head coach vacancy and gets that capital to work with there. And I've just as we're kind of speaking now, just seen Andre Johnson's come out and said that the Texans are known for wasting players' careers, and DeShaun Watson should stand his ground and get out of Houston. So that's the kind of if that's the kind of stuff. And I know that Andre Johnson's been like brought in to advise on the running of the Texans as well at some point. So if that's the way he's saying it, then you know he could stand his ground and force a trade for less capital. But yeah, I mean. Jason, I'll come back to you then, mate. If I mean, let's just say hypothetically, the Dolphins organization does decide to do the trade and stuff like, what do you reckon the future looks like for the next year or two? I mean, do you have to restructure that Watson contract? Is that a priority for you? And obviously, then we'll drag it back to the Tua side of things after that.
No problem. And again, I mentioned that I was going to do a little bit of a hedge, and this is where I guess that hedge comes back. So I'm glad that you brought it back. But look, if the Dolphins have a way to kind of, and I like to call this, the rob Peter to pay Paul plan. And that's almost what they did with that whole Josh Rosen deal. Before the trade, they made another trade, got some capital, made the trade to bring in the trade, So if the Dolphins are doing some pre-work, and I'm not naming names because I know where a lot of people are going to go with this, but I'm just saying, if there's capital that's brought in from whatever side of the ball that's traded out, then potentially you could look at the side of the deal and say, did they really just get DeShaun Watson? They retained an 18th overall pick and maybe a third and a fifth or whatever. And then, much to Simon said, yeah, you could retain, all those great, players. And with the minimal picks, you could get around. You could find a way, So, yeah, I'll look at it if it's amazing. But it's not going to be amazing. They're going to fleece somebody. And I don't think it's going to be the Dolphins because you look at some of the names that were available earlier on in the season that the Dolphins were quote unquote interested in. Sure, I'm interested in Ashton Martin, but for my price, which is a lot lower than anyone's going to sell it for. If anyone is dumb enough to give me for that, have at it. But if someone's going to give the other person more money, like they did for Todd Gurley, a Melvin Gordon, an Antonio Brown, remember the rumors that we were going to trade for Tom Brady? No, that was not going to happen. So that's the thing with the Dolphins. We love to be considered because you know what? We don't play in Minnesota. There's no tax, so everyone knows that stuff. And obviously, with the Dan Marino shirt on DeShaun Watson, you thought that was FedEx by Chris Greer. It wasn't. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. But yes, there's ways to win with each direction. But the loyalty, the team build, you want to be a Steelers, you want to be a Packers, you want to be a Ravens. You don't want to be, unfortunately, what we've watched for the last 2 decades.
Sorry.
I'll jump in quickly just before Lee says what he was going to talk about. The ultimate question is comparing now with what the team would look like with Watson against what the team could look like in a year or two with Tua. And if you add a couple of really 2 or 3 elite weapons via the draft and free agency, and if Tua progresses in year 2 as a result of these additions, then the long-term potential is far greater for this team, I think, than it is with DeShaun Watson on his own without those elite weapons that ultimately we'd have to give up to get him.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think Jason just made a really good point as well about culture. I don't know what message this sends to the team that you've been building for 2 years, and the coaches have been saying, look, the best players will play, we're going to do this, they support the players. And then at the first chance at a shiny new object, you say, actually, you're out the door, bring in a new guy. I don't know if it fits. Again, I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying I'd be upset if it happened. I mean, I am saying I wouldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it happened, but I don't see it. Also, you haven't seen it from the Dolphins' point of view. No one has said the Dolphins are interested in DeShaun Watson. Everyone just assumes they are. Like, it was only, 2 weeks ago they came out and said Tua's a starting quarterback. So, I think there's so many things to it. The other thing is, I've seen a lot of. I was watching some videos before we came online here tonight, and some of the talking heads in the States saying, "Oh well, you can send Tua the other way, and it's going to help with their rebuild." Tua has no value if you send him the other way because you've diminished it by saying we're giving up after a year.
Right. That's exactly right. Look at this great, awesome object. I don't want it, but take it.
What you've got's better, so I want yours. But by the way, mine's worth a lot. Like I say, again, you know, he's not worth nothing. But at the same time, I just think you damage the value that he has in any trade. Just to touch on something else, I know is out there with Xavier Howard changing agents. I saw it mentioned. You know, what about if you sent Howard as part of the package, and that way you were able to retain some of the picks? How does Xavier Howard help a rebuild? Like, I love Xavier Howard, but Xavier Howard's got bad knees. He possibly wants another new deal. Like, that just doesn't help the Texans at all. So I don't even think that's an option. But, you know, there's an awful lot of ifs and buts. I also think that the comparison for talent to talent right now on the Texans and the Dolphins, like, it's Will Fuller, Devontae Parker. After that, everyone's we're trying to replace all our guys. So it's just I don't know. It's going to be an interesting few weeks.
You always talk so much sense. And look, I'm obviously playing devil's advocate, and I'm very happy with the way the team's going and stuff like that. I just you know, great discussion point, isn't it? It just doesn't really happen very often. And obviously, get that opportunity to trade for a top 5 quarterback, and let alone the Dolphins be linked with it. So we've got to talk about it. Lee?
The one other thing you said is, you know, what do you expect to happen now if you trade for DeShaun Watson? The simple answer to that is you have to win right now.
Right.
Because that window just became super short because you've got a lot of money paying out on defense, and then you're not going to have a lot of rookies. The beauty of the system right now is we've got a lot of rookie contracts on offense. We've got a lot of expensive contracts on defense. Now, as these contracts start to come up and start to get renewed, these ones are going to become draft picks on the defense and start. So you've got this cycle of how you can move money from the offense to the defense every year and keep it cap friendly. If you go into complete win now mode, it makes this a bit of a mess because you've now not got the picks coming in to replace the contracts that you're trying. Do you see what I'm saying?
It becomes like a risk management equation because right now the risk of staying put is minimal if it's 0 because there's no change. But if you escalate it to that win now mode, like you said, Lee, I mean, it's win now. It's win 1 Super Bowl, get to 3 in 3 years, or else it's a failure. And you need money. You need money for Sanders, Gesicki, Van Ginkel, Ogba, Preston Williams, the rookie offensive line, you know, Tua's second contract, you know, if this works. But that's what you need to do in this year's NFL. Build a team, get to the Super Bowl on the 3rd year or 2nd year, God willing, of a rookie quarterback. But you bring that in because the Dolphins have the ability to make that an unbelievable, not standard, but just a masterclass in organizational build. And that is the goal. Get to a Super Bowl when Tua has a rookie contract. And then I'll give him $150 million if he gives me a Super Bowl ring.
I think that's perfectly summed up, hasn't it? And I think good debate, lads. I really like this one. It's one that's going to play out over the next few weeks if anything does move at all.